It's time for another media anniversary video and a franchise I have talked about before, but this is the first time to do one. Ghostbusters. Ah yes, this one I really wanted to talk about. I have done a review of Afterlife on my channel, but not the first movie, surprisingly. And since the first movie came out in 1984, turning 4 years old this year, it will be definitely a fun one because it's one of my favorite movies, and I'll tell you why after the review. The story goes, 3 parapsychology professors experience their encounter with a ghost at a public library. The dean fires them, and the trio decide to start a business operation to catch ghosts with their high-tech nuclear equipment. And well, this movie goes into a wild goose chase. You see, there's a guy named Walter Peck deactivates the containment unit, which causes an explosion, and the ghosts roam free. Then the trio, followed by Winston, got arrested. Then you have a subplot with Dana Barrett and Louis Tully get possessed by these dogs, which they meet at the top of the apartment building, which led to a servant, Gozer the Gozerian. Then the Ghostbusters go and stop Gozer. Then all of a sudden a giant foot marshmallow man destroying the city. Like, wow, it's ingenious. Yeah, this plot will make your head spin, but you know what? I love it. It's probably the most unbelievable creative premise that this movie has done. Before I get to the characters and so forth, I want to say about my introduction to this movie. It was back in 2007, and this was shown in a preview at one of the DVDs. I was pretty fascinated by the preview, wondering what this movie is about. Not only that, but it has Bill Murray, an actor I remember very well. After seeing it, I said to myself, I have to watch Ghostbusters by the time I get older. Thankfully, my wish was granted. The following year, 2008, was when I watched it for the first time. My brother borrowed a copy from his friend, and then the following year, he got it on DVD at Walmart. And that's where I kept loving this movie. Now, this movie is not even in my top 5 most watched movies, though it could have made it to the list if I could be, I don't know, Shrek 2 or something. I rewatched it again before doing this video, and my opinions hasn't changed one bit. It's timeless as ever. Okay, let's get into the review itself. And yeah, it's gonna be a lot, just like the story. I'll start with the characters first. First off, this has got to be the best cast out of any movies outside of superhero films, animated films, or anything. You have 3 actors that worked with sketch shows, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Harold Ramis. That is just perfect. Murray and Aykroyd worked with Saturday Night Live, and Ramis worked with SCTV. So yeah, awesome choices for the 3 actors. Not only actors for the movie, but Aykroyd and Ramis also wrote for the movie. Besides the 3, we have Sigourney Weaver, great choice since she worked on the first Alien movie, Rick Moranis, Ernie Hudson, Annie Potts, and William Atherton. I know some people may not know some of them, but there are great choices overall. Okay, back to the characters. The trios are fantastic. I would describe the trio as Peter Venkman is the mouth because he has the most delivery and being sarcastic. Seriously, every time I watch this movie, Bill playing Peter is just so darn brilliant. Ray Stantz is the hand because he would hold objects or gesturing his hands. And Egon Spengler is the brain because he's the smart one and knowing about it in a scientific way. So yeah, love all 3. But if I had to pick one, it's Peter Venkman for the win. Love Bill Murray's performance. The rest of them are great too. Winston Zeddemore is a great addition to the Ghostbusters team, in which I already discussed him in my Black History Month video. Dana Barrett is a pretty confident lady. Louis Tully is a bumbling and naive neighbor. Janine Melnitz is a secretary that gives emergency calls. And Walter Peck, which I gotta say, this guy is serious, but he's a jerk because he's trying to shut down the machine, in which Peter refused. And while Walter is a jerk, I actually love him. It's one of those, he's an evil corporation and not the villain. The rest of the minor characters are great too, like the mayor and even Gozer. While Gozer only appears at the end and speaks a few lines, Gozer is cool as a villain, even having 2 dogs named Fizzclortho and Zool. Now let's talk about the comedy. This is hands down the most funny comedy for this movie, and this may come to no shock to you all. This is my favorite comedy movie. Not only their quotable lines are perfect, but some are just so hilarious. There's one line from Peter Venkman during the mayor scene that has me in stitches every time I watch it. It is still very funny. I can honestly go on about the comedy other than it's just hilarious. It's probably one of the best highlights about the movie. Besides the characters and the comedy, another great part in the movie is the special effects. While it's not perfect, I still find it very impressive, even by 1984 standards. They use a giant-sized Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. They use lasers on the proton packs. The effects on the ghosts look awesome, especially Slimer. And even when Dana as Zool floating in the air, that's a pretty cool effect. Practical effects are usually awesome in movies. I think director Ivan Reitman and the team wanted to do a supernatural for a blend of horror, comedy, and action. And yeah, that's an awesome blend. I may not like horror, but I find it creepy and eerie. Speaking of that, I want to talk about music. The original score in the movie is composed by Elmer Bernstein, and man, the music in the movie is amazing. I find Bernstein is a great composer compared to other great musical composers. And let's not forget the Ghostbusters main theme song, sung by Ray Parker Jr. This is like my top 3 favorite songs. Like, I love listening to the song over and over again. Not only that, it's catchy as heck, but it's got some great beats and even the lyrics. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Love that song all these years. But yeah, I love this movie a lot. However, I do have a bit of criticism, and that is one special effect. Don't get me wrong, the effects are great in the movie, but there's one effect in the movie that's so dated. It's when the dog chases after Lewis out of the hotel. I mean, look at it. It's pretty jarring at the effects, the way they move. It's not a great effect. Other than that, I didn't find any issues at all for this movie. But I'm not done with this. I have to talk about the legacy of the movie. When it came out in 1984, it was like the second highest grossing film behind Beverly Hills Cop, and then made it as one of the successful comedy films of the 80s. Then, Ghostbusters became a multimedia franchise. There was a cartoon titled The Real Ghostbusters, followed by a sequel in the 90s. There's video games, board games, comic books, merchandise, and even haunted attractions. Ghostbusters has gotten a few nominations and some wins, and got a National Film Registry, and so much rankings. I'm amazed that this movie is getting ranked so much higher. Besides those, there's even Ghostbusters movies. The second one came out 5 years after the first one, then a reboot in 2016, which no one really likes. Then Ghostbusters Afterlife in 2021, and another one that came out this year titled Frozen Empire, which I still need to see it soon. This is one of Sony's biggest franchises of all time, besides Spider-Man. The legacy on the franchise is great all these years. But yeah, Ghostbusters is one of my favorite movies. Top 5 easily. It's funny, it's clever, it's visually interesting, it's creepy, it has everything. I want to talk more about it, but I think that's good enough for now. And in the future, I'm going to talk about this movie again in a future video. That is all for the video. Happy 4th anniversary to Ghostbusters. And next video will be another movie review for an anniversary video. I will see you all for the next video. Bye-bye!